this is Jenna Burt, host of the Confessions of a Military Spouse podcast. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Chelsea.
And we are the host of your new favorite sales podcast, See Jane Sell.
Join us every Thursday for a new episode where we will tackle the realistic world of sales and maybe teach you a thing or two along the way.
You can subscribe to See Jane Sell on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Spotify. Thanks, and enjoy the following podcast on Public House Media.
Hello, it's Julianne Condia, your host of Rewritten. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for being a listener of this Rewritten podcast. I appreciate it. I appreciate your love and support. I love it throughout the week, hearing how the episode speaks to you. It's amazing. It's like so many times I hear you say, this is exactly what I needed. And it just shows that so many of us are walking similar paths, maybe during different seasons. And it's just whatever you're going through, it's not unique, meaning other people are going through it too, but it's mighty significant. So feel your feels, know that I'm here for you, and there are other people experiencing life like you are. And the best thing to do, and I tell you this all of the time, is that you continuing to work on yourself is everything. I heard a quote today, actually, and it was about finding discipline during disappointment. When disappointment happens, when you fear failure, when you have a setback, when life is hard, it is so incredibly important to find discipline to show up, find discipline to lean in, find discipline to develop character, work on your self-care during challenging times. It's easy to do when life is easy. It's a lot harder when life is hard. And so when you can develop discipline through the hard, that is where you're made. Our church just celebrated 10 years of being a church, and it's amazing. When you know the backstory, it's incredible because here we are at the 10-year mark of our church, and we have 4 different locations throughout the Bay. And there's a vision that there will be 5 more churches with our church in the next 5 years, which is so cool because if you know Silicon Valley, it's the most unchurched place in the United States of America. And to just see this church growing is incredible. So we have different locations, but it's all satellite. So we all hear the same message. It's really powerful. But on this 10-year anniversary, we all got together at the San Jose State Event Center. So it was huge. It was like this packed arena of all locations coming together as one, which has never happened. It was extravagant. It was amazing. They even had cupcakes afterwards. Good cupcakes. If you know me, that matters. But there were balloons. There were games. It was almost like you were going to an event that you had to pay so much money for. It was so cool. And for someone to walk in and see that, you see the success of it. But it's really cool to hear their story because they lived in North Carolina or the Carolinas across the country 10 years ago, thinking we want to plant a church in the most unchurched place in the United States. Hey, let's do it. We don't have money. We don't have anyone to help fund this. San Jose Bay Area is the most expensive place to live in the United States. Let's go there without a job and let's make it happen. And they called up a few friends and said, will you go with us? And they had families, little kids, And they all decided to go. And they started our church in a living room. And then they had their first service. And then it just kept growing. And then it just kept going over these last 10 years. And one of my favorite all-time quotes, and actually my pastor shared it in his message, which this is one that I hold so near and dear to my heart because it is something so important to me to remember that people overestimate what 1 year can do for them, and they underestimate what 10 can do for them. In 10 years, you look like an overnight success. When you were to walk into that event center, you would just think, oh my gosh, what a successful church. They're doing incredible things here. But what you don't know and what you don't see is the faith that it took, all the hard work that took, the vision, the trust, everything that took 10 years ago. With nothing, no foundation, but they had a vision, they had God, they just had this trust that they could do it. And so often we are craving immediate results, or we throw in the towel when it gets hard, or we throw in the towel when we don't see results. How crazy is that? I was thinking about that before we moved to Silicon Valley. Eric and I prayed for a community. We prayed for a church. We prayed that we would be able to find friends because we left Milwaukee loving it. We had incredible relationships there. It was familiar. It was our home. And before we left, we prayed. And I had no idea how hard that would be. It's kind of hard making friends as an adult. And especially with ones that align with your values, your vision, your work ethic, your livelihood. And when we moved here, it was hard. I can't even tell you how many times I said, can we just go back home? Can we just move back? It was so tempting. We had a lot of conversations around it. And we just trusted, even though it was hard. Even though I probably cried a lot, I think every day. And as we were at church for this 10-year anniversary, first of all, I'm a psycho. I just want to say that I was like, I'm that church lady that needs to get her seat every Sunday. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, so I got to the event center, volunteered really early with Eric, and saved two rows of seats, okay? And which was perfect for my friends that aren't like me. And they came in when the service was starting and had a spot. I got them. They laughed because they knew I had them. And as we were worshiping, I just started crying because I just looked to my left, looked to my right, looked behind me. And I was there with my best friends. People that I prayed for. People that I got to meet because of this opportunity of moving to Silicon Valley. But I look back and I think it didn't feel like that our first year here. We just had to trust that it would happen. Even the second year, it took a lot. We've almost been here 3 full years. But just to be able to worship with our closest friends here, I just realized how incredible it is when you just stick things out, when you discover discipline when it's hard, when you show up anyway, when you have faith anyway, when you realize that you are being developed, that something incredible is happening, that you just can't always see it. You can't always feel it, but you have to trust that something beautiful is going to happen throughout the hard, throughout the uncertainty. And so just to be around that and just to reflect on that, and I'm sure that's how the pastors of our church felt looking in this arena packed full of people who go to all the church services there, just thinking, wow, I remember what it was like when it was just us. I remember when we didn't even have a building. I remember when we didn't even have a name. And I just think about that before we moved, not knowing the names of the people who would drastically impact my life, not having a single clue of the church that would grow us in ways that I can't even describe to you. It's incredible what happens and develops over time. I think about that with our business of not having any kind of clue what it would do, but being in it 5 years now, it's just remarkable of all the people that have come into our life, all the transformations that have happened, and the growth and the mindset and the courage and the confidence and just the incredible stories of people we've been able to be impacted by and be able to impact. It's not anything I saw happening when our business started. I had no clue. And I just can't even imagine what another 5 years is going to do for us and for others. So friend, we have got to develop discipline in every season of life. We have to trust in this compound effect. We have to see a bigger vision beyond a year, 6 months, a couple months, a day, a week. We have to look at this bigger picture of we're right where we're supposed to be. And especially when you're working on yourself, especially when you are putting in the work to really work on your mindset and how you feel and how you think and who you surround yourself with and what matters to you in life. And just trusting that you showing up every day is doing so much for your future, doing so much for you for the next 10 years. I think it was Matthew McConaughey who said, the person he chases is the person he will be in 10 years. He'll never meet that person. He'll never arrive there because he's always chasing that person. Every time 10 years passes, he's looking at the next 10 years of how can I become better? How can I become like the 10 years older version of me? How remarkable. All the lessons you learn, all the things you get to experience. Life is just a series of lessons. They're not always going to be great lessons and easy lessons, and they're not meant to. So friend, you're developing. Look at the bigger picture. It gets so good when you get to look back 10 years and see all the faithfulness God had for you. All the amazing people that walked into your life. All the ways you were shaped and formed. Isn't that incredible? Thank you for tuning in. If you could go ahead and screenshot this, upload it to your Instagram or your Facebook, tag me, let me know how it spoke to you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of this community.